I would like to mention who I would look at in a new coach going into this offseason. And there's always rumors when it comes down to that last game of the year against Michigan State. Is this definitely Joe Paterno's last game? And at that time, everybody's saying, yeah, you're going to go and get somebody new from out of house, which I still think is the right move. The name I would have gone for in a heartbeat was Al Golden out of Temple. But now that he's just taken the Miami job, I don't think that's a good possibility. So, I mean, I think it's up in the air who the next Penn State coach might be if it comes from out of house. I still think if they stay in house, that it's no doubt Tom Bradley. If they go
Well,
out of house, I mean, who knows?
I think it should be Bradley. I think he deserved it. He deserves it. So we'll see what happens there. But
Yeah, I think you're right. He definitely deserves the opportunity. I mean, I was rooting for him to become the head coach of Pitt because I don't think he's going to get the opportunity at Penn State, and I believe that he would be an awesome head coach, and I would just love to see him go somewhere.
I would too.
Well, hey, I'm looking down through Penn State's watch list here for football, and I see a pretty interesting name that you guys may recognize.
Uh huh.
It's a Micah Palamalu, Micah Palamalu. That's right,
Paul.
Palamalu,
Isn't that the guy they had the song named after?
Palamalu. That one? Yeah, that would be
Yeah, it was
him.
after Micah, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's after Micah. No, Micah Polamalu, younger brother of Troy Polamalu, from Pottstown, Pennsylvania. He is listed as 5'11" defensive back and a 3-star rating. Currently, he hasn't been offered a scholarship to Penn State, but says that he has as much interest there as anywhere else. He's currently being offered scholarships to Navy, Temple, and Villanova.
Mhm.
So who knows? That could be an interesting find to see in Penn State blue and white.
Is there any indication where he might end up? You would think he'd probably go to Temple, considering Villanova's not a Division One program and Navy's not up to par with the other schools. Maybe even Temple, you could say.
Well, I think losing out Golden definitely makes going to Temple a little bit less likely at this point, not knowing what's going on out there. But I think Temple, according to who he's gotten offers from, uh, Temple is definitely the best choice. But I mean, he's still looking at Penn State, Pitt, Rutgers, Syracuse, Michigan, Michigan State. So there's still lots of possibilities for him. So we'll keep an eye on little Palamalu.
And is this class of 2011 or 2012?
Yes, he is 2011, so we should be hearing here probably by signing day here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, signing day's February 2nd. Things will start to pan out by then. Yeah, I'll probably go with Temple. So we'll see what happens there. Um, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I'd like to talk again about the possibility of the spread offense coming to Penn State, like it's come to every other school. It seems like in NCAA football. The spread offense at this point really wouldn't be a bad idea at Penn State. They have two fast running backs in Silas Red and Stephon Green, which is an absolute must for the spread offense. But I am looking even more at the wide receivers that they have. You have Derek Moy, a solid number one receiver from Rochester in the Whitfield. So there's a little shout out to you guys down there in the Aliquippa area. But he's fast enough that he can run reverses, but he's tall enough that he can do the jump balls with success. But then beyond him, you have the likes of Justin Brown, Davon Smith, who is shorter than Darren Sproles and even faster from what I hear. Alex Kenny, a State College native, who I was told ran a 4.240. That's pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then my personal favorite though, you may recognize the name Curtis Drake. He
Mm-hmm.
was actually the quarterback for West Catholic when they played Wilmington High School for the state title a couple years ago in that double overtime game.
Now, hasn't he been injured though? Wouldn't that slow his speed down a little bit? I know he's a fast type of player, but from my understanding, he suffered a pretty big injury at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, he had a fractured leg at the beginning of the year, and they said that he probably could have gotten back for game 2 or 3, but they decided to redshirt him for the year, keep him rested, let him get fully recovered, and not risk further injury. Yes, this definitely could affect his speed a little bit, but given this much time to recover, I don't find it too much of an issue. And you know what? I think he's as much a threat with his arm as he is with his legs,
Hmm.
with his legs, because he was the quarterback there at West Catholic High.
Maybe he
And
can be the Randall L of the Penn State offense.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. His freshman year, he threw two passes, one of which went 60 yards in the air, and the other one went for 30 yards for a big touchdown against
Hmm.
Michigan State. So they're going to find him a way to get the ball. I think he's going to be the new Derek Williams of the offense. So he'll be catching it, running it, and probably throwing it pretty often.
Now, Devin Smith, he's a small guy. I think he's only 5'8". Where do you incorporate him into the offense at?
You can line him up anywhere. He did a lot of snaps in the backfield as essentially a running back. He would take screen passes from there, little sweeps, draws, anything. But then he would line up outside, line up in the slot, and he's a good route runner, and he would catch passes there too. So he's another guy you can put him anywhere, pretty much on the field, and he'll make plays for you. Which is why I think a spread out offense where you can have guys moving around in different positions wouldn't be a bad idea for Penn State at this point.
Now, could you see risk with this, though? We know Michigan tried the spread offense, of course, with option involved, and look what happened there. Do you see any possible risks? Maybe Penn State progressing, or then maybe again after a few years progressing a little bit, or anything like that happening?
Well, it's always a possibility. It's always a risk when you try to change the offense up a little bit. But I look back 2 years ago when Penn State instituted what they called the spread HD, and that was and they ended up going to the Rose Bowl that year. So I mean, it can happen. It can go well and it can go poorly. I mean, I think a big problem up in Ann Arbor was that their their offense with Rodriguez is so quarterback centered that I mean, when you have issues at quarterback, it takes a couple years to get a true good quarterback to fit the system like that. Whereas when you have just a true spread offense, as you see around the world in normal guns. I mean, you see when Kelly went out to Notre Dame, he took a pure pocket passer in Dane Christ and was actually able to turn him into a pretty solid spread option quarterback. So I mean, you don't need to be nearly as fast and talented in that kind of system as you do in a Rich Rodriguez system, which is why I think the Ann Arbor experience kind of failed up there.
Well, let's not forget too that the spread offense is a very exciting brand of offense to watch. Um, but then again, like I said, there are some risks that could be involved with this. The Big Ten, if I'm correct, is mostly full of teams who have more of a power run offense, like Wisconsin and Michigan State. Um, like we said, Michigan tried it, didn't work out well. Um, so, do you think talent-wise, Penn State has the potential to go up against these pro-style teams or running ground teams and compete with them?
Offensively, just looking at their roster right now, it would be a good fit. Now, can they, if they are able to keep up that kind of recruitment to be able to keep the big time athletes, is another story. But I think the big thing about Penn State, though, has been their defense. They've always been a top 20 defense, and that's been against both the power running teams, the air it out teams, and the spread option teams. They play every single style of team throughout the year, and for the most part, they stay pretty solid. So again, as long as Tom Bradley is there, I don't see much concern as far as stopping or being able to hang with a power running team.
Well, like you said, if Tom Bradley is there, and like we just mentioned, it seems like he does not want to be there necessarily. He wants to be a head coach. So if he leaves, who knows what will happen. But I think that's just about it on this episode of 360 Community Sports. Um, Dotson, thank you for joining us, filling in for Greg.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. We'll have you on again. Keep us updated what's going on in Happy Valley.
No
And
doubt.
have a good night and tune in next week for our podcast. Thank you.